This week on the OneCast, we're joined by Elite Series Pro, reigning Rookie of the Year, two-time Elite Series champion, Joey Cifuentes.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, God, it's a toad, son. It's a toad, dude.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day.
What is going on, folks? Welcome back to the OneCast. If you are watching us on our video version, so over on YouTube, you can see Trey is absent right now, so you just got Pete and I for the moment, but he's pulling dad duties. Today, we've got a great episode planned. We got Joey on here. He's probably one of the hottest anglers in bass fishing right now. We have definitely talked about him and his performance over the season on our previous episodes. The fact that he has won 2 blue trophies this year alone is absolutely phenomenal, and we are stoked to have him on. But before we bring him on, as always, make sure you go over to OneCastFishing.com, join the snagless revolution, get those snagless jigs, long neck hooks, soft plastics, use the code TheOneCast and save a little bit of money. Pete, what do you got for us?
Nothing, man. You nailed it. Pretty excited to have Joey on to talk a little bit about his history and that, man, just a heck of a rookie year to win 2 blue trophies, Rookie of the Year title. It was really impressive. So looking forward to talking to him, talking a little fishing, and glad to be back. I wasn't here when you guys did Friday, so feels good to be back and ready to bring y'all some hopefully super entertaining conversation.
Yeah. If you caught our Fishing Friday last Friday, so this is probably about 10 days before this drops up. Pete hopped on there for a few minutes. He was driving out to fish a tournament at Lake Norman. He actually he caught fish out there, which is a positive for him because usually it doesn't happen, right?
That was my first time out there, so I didn't know what to expect. But yeah, I got into him a little bit, so it wasn't too bad.
Good deal, sweet.
So yeah, I think we got everything out of the way. Let's just bring Joey.
Yeah, let's bring him on. Let's talk to the hottest angler right now, probably in at least in Bassmaster and probably all of professional bass fishing.
Yes, sir.
What's up, guys?
What's going on, Joey?
Not much. How y'all doing?
Hey, just another day here trying to make a dollar, make a living, talk fishing. We know there's a lot of news going on right now, but we probably won't touch that too much because it's in a wholly different field here. But we appreciate you joining us, and we appreciate you willing to hop on here and talk about your story, and then obviously this last season, which is one of the best seasons I think we've seen in a long, long time. Yeah,
heck of a rookie year from Joey. For those of you that don't know, Rookie of the Year winner, also won 2 Elite Series events, and I can't think of somebody that's done that in quite a while. So looking forward to getting into that. But Joe, if you just want to introduce yourself for anybody that's listening that may not know you, and maybe give a little bit of background on how long you've been doing this before you got to the Elite Series.
Yeah, so I am actually born and raised in Tampa, Florida. I lived in a little town outside of Tampa called Brandon. Lived there for 16 years, grew up saltwater fishing mainly. My grandma lived on a little small lake there in Florida, north of Tampa, in the town called Lutz. And so I got to do a little bass fishing when I was a kid on the bank, and just loved it, loved the outdoors. Moved to Arkansas when I was about 15, grew up in Arkansas, high school, went off to play college baseball, got into fishing, worked my way up from a co-angler to fishing as a pro, qualified the whole way. Last couple of years ago, I qualified to make the Elite Series, or last year. And so here I am. I fished the Elite Series this year, had a absolutely phenomenal year. I couldn't be more thankful for that. Just feeling good, man. Like I've seen these lakes for a long time now. Over the years, I fished MLF stuff or FLW Tour, so I've got to travel around the country, and it takes time to learn these places. And I had a lot of confidence going into this year in my ability, and to get the Rookie of the Year and the wins was absolutely phenomenal. So
yeah. So when did you start as a co-angler? How long ago was that?
So I just did a little interview on this. I think it was around 2012. Okay. Somewhere in there. Maybe 13, somewhere in there, I think. I did that. The interesting thing is Larry Nixon, everybody knows him, one of the greatest fishermen of all time. lives right here down the road from me in Bee Branch, Arkansas. I live in Clinton, Arkansas, and so I got in the boat with him and started fishing. It was actually the FLW Ever Start series, which it's like the Toyota series.
Mm-hmm.
So I fished that as a co-angler. I did one season. We fished, or one division in that. We fished Sam Rayburn. Then we went back to Toledo Bend, and then we finished up at Sam Rayburn. I ended up winning that last tournament. But I did that co-angling thing for 3 years. So I did that, and then I qualified to fish the FLW Tour as a co-angler. And then 2 years. I think that second year I was top 10 in the points. I qualified as to move up as a professional on the boat. So 3 years as a co-angler, 5 years pro. This past year was my 6 years. So 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 years ago.
One of the questions, I had is because when we bring you up, and anyone who goes out there, they bring you up for Bassmaster, it's got your birth date up there. And you're just a few months older than me. And I'm like, man, I still got a chance. I could still go fish the Bassmaster Elite. But obviously you've been doing this for a long time. So my question is like, at one point, fishing co-angler Larry Nixon, you become a boater. At what point did you decide, one, I'm going to chase this, or two, I mean, obviously last year we were fishing the Opens, you qualified, but did you decide, okay, I can actually do this? Like, was there something that happened in your mind that forced you to pursue this dream, or is it just something you've always had since, being down in Tampa or outside Tampa when you were a little boy?
So I didn't grow. I'm kind of different than I think a lot of Elite Series guys. I did not grow up. Matter of fact, when I moved to Arkansas, I had no idea what professional bass fishing was. I didn't know what professional bass fishing was till I was probably 17 years old. And that's really when I started fishing little team tournaments here. But, as far as the way my career went, so I grew up wanting to be a professional baseball player. Like, that's the only thing I wanted to do. I was baseball 24/7, and so when I moved to Arkansas, I learned a little bit about fishing and kind of fell in love with it. But, Mike, when I won that tournament as a co-angler on Sam Rayburn Lake and qualified for the tour, I did that for 2 years. And then the second year I won another one, and I'm like, okay, it wasn't just a fluke. Like, maybe I'm actually pretty good at this, and I was only doing it in the back of the boat, but also I had won, in that time, I think maybe that same year I won as a co-angler, I won in front of the boat in a BFL on Lake Dardanelle here in Arkansas. So the confidence was like, hey, I was thinking like, maybe I should do this. I should try. So I said, well, I'm going to go over to the pro side on the tour, and, did that. And I didn't win anything. I had some really good tournaments, had a couple tournaments I should have won here kind of in the past year. But I think it was that moment when I was like, hey, I might actually try and pursue this. Like maybe I'm actually can do well at this and be good. So that was kind of the time there,
Yeah.
The moment.
I think that's it's very refreshing to see, very refreshing to hear. I mean, especially now, right? Today we've got a lot of young guns coming up, right? This is all they've done. They've gone through the high school, college circuit, and bass, and actually professional fishing in general, regardless of circuit, has done a good job of trying to build the grassroots. But it's awesome to see that this may, later in life, you can figure out what your true dream and passion is. And this is something you can still go chase and be very successful at. So, I mean, you're definitely a testament to that, which I think is a great inspiration to all of us here in the fishing.
Yeah, I think
industry.
if you look at, who qualified this year, and obviously it's a whole different ball game with the way to qualify with the, having to fish the 9 EQs and all that. I think Milliken is the oldest at 30, he's 34. And then you have a 19-year-old and Trey McKinney. Like, it really shows, and it's good for the sport, right? Yeah. Like, it's great that there's still young people that want to do it and pursue it. But it is nice to see, folks closer to our age that are able to do it too, because we all have that dream, and you did it the right way too. I mean, you have a business that you run with your ranch and stuff. Like, you had stuff in place already that lets you take a little bit of time off and not have to worry about cashing a check to pay your mortgage for the month. Because we've had a lot of guys on here and talked about, a lot of people don't understand the financial strain that is put on you when you go to try to chase that dream. Could you talk just a little bit on that? Like, just for people that might be thinking about doing it, how important it is to have your finances together and not try to credit card your way to the Elite Series.
Yeah, and with that,
Yeah.
maybe add on, like, what'd you learn this year? Like, oh wow, I did not expect this. Like from the business side of it, being on the Elite Series.
Yeah. So I'm gonna tell you guys actually a story behind that, and but anyways, starting out, I got a quick eye opener when I started fishing the FLW Tour. I don't remember exactly what the entry fees were at the time, but it's around 40, anywhere from $40,000 to $45,000. And when I sat down and planned it out. See, I think I needed around $60,000 to actually with rooms and the whole bit. That's what my expenses. It was going to cost around that. So it is very expensive, and it's very stressful. It's almost like it doesn't take the fun out of it. You have fun, but it's a job. You have to perform. You have to make checks in these tournaments. You get a lot of stress put on you. But what I was going to tell you guys is the year I qualified for the Elite Series, I had been doing this for 4 years, I think. And I was doing well. I had several top tens, but I just hadn't won a tournament. And it was like year to year, it was barely getting by. Like, I mean, if you make a check in each tournament, you're bringing home, like, when it's all said and done, $30,000-$40,000. Like, it's not good. I mean,
Yeah.
I wanted to have a family and kids and all that stuff. And so the year I qualified for the Elite Series, I'm going to tell you guys the truth. That was my last year. I was 100%. I said, I'm going to do this because the FLW thing was switching around. They moved the Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit that I was fishing to like a smaller deal. It was less tournaments. Yeah. The payout was getting terrible. I was just at that moment, and I actually went and got my real estate license. I had the stuff on the farm and the ranch, and I had that in place, but I went and got my real estate license. Like, I was prepared to, if this didn't work out and I didn't qualify, I was going to probably step away from bass fishing just because it's so hard to do. It's very expensive. And it worked out where I ended up qualifying for the Elite Series. And then look at here, you have one of those years that's just dreamy, but it's a real grind. It is, anything though in life that you do that's to be successful, it's hard. You're going to get beat down so much, and you have to really work hard to be successful. And I was fortunate, timing wise, but it's a tough sport. It's not for the faint of heart by any means.
No, it's very, very mentally challenging. Both the fishing itself, but then everything you mentioned at home, finances, checks, trying to make sure you have the money for room and board for the next tournament and fuel to get there. And, we had Destin DeMarion on a couple months back when he fished Elites, and we talked about, like, it really changed. And I think you didn't have probably the same understanding we did, because like Ben and myself, when we grew up in the time of the non-endemic sponsors where Citgo was giving everybody free fuel and everybody was getting free boats, and that was the way it was in in the late 90s, early 2000s. The money was just pouring in, and then when those non-endemics dried up, it became the angler's responsibility. And then as more and more tournament circuits, they may not be direct competitors, but the Opens, the Toyota Series, the BFLs, you have more and more guys leaning on companies to pull from that limited pot for the endemic sponsors. They only have so much money to give. It becomes ultra competitive. So all of that stuff is constantly on your mind. And I'm sure you had been around enough to know that qualifying wasn't the golden ticket, that the sponsors weren't just going to come running just because you qualified. But it's always interesting to talk to guys who haven't been around and made it. Like Maddie, when we had Maddie on, was one. Like, he kind of thought, okay, I'm going to qualify. I made it. Now the sponsors are going to come. I think Seth Fighters talked about it before. Like, and that's not at all what happens. Just because you made it does not mean the sponsors are going to come knocking to hand you free money.
No. No, matter of fact, getting into the secondary question that you asked there was, you know, even this year, guys, and I know the economy and things aren't great right now, and I think that's probably, got a lot to do with it. I mean, back in the day, I probably would have all kinds of goodies and stuff going into next year, but I won 2 Elite Series tournaments in the same year as a rookie. I'm not technically a rookie. I've been doing this for 4 or 5 years now, but and I had to make phone calls, guys. Like I've been on the phone. I pretty much have all my sponsorship stuff finished for next year. But I was, as soon as the season was over, I was on the phone calling people. I sat back a little bit. I did have a couple people reach out, but they didn't end up being anything. As far as fishing industry goes, even in the fishing industry, sponsors and stuff like that, I had to call them and see, hey, can we? I've got to get more money and whatnot. I mean, there was not people, because frankly, what I've learned is, and this is, if you're just running a business, and say I have a business and I'm trying to sponsor one of you guys as a professional fisherman, and you're me, you just had an awesome year. I'm trying to get you for as cheap as I can.
Yep.
Okay. So I've been negotiating with companies. I mean, it is back and forth. I got so stressed out 3 weeks ago about all this stuff. It was just like, it was getting crazy. I wanted to just finish it and get it done. So it's not, no, people aren't calling me up saying, hey, Joey, want to do this? Now, with that being said, I do have a title sponsor next year, which is, and actually it's a 3-year deal, and
awesome.
it's in the industry deal.
Awesome.
Most of my sponsorships, the money wise, has pretty much doubled. So that's good. And of course I wasn't getting paid a lot of money anyway before this, just because I hadn't won a lot of tournament, but I was getting paid by a few companies for sponsorships and stuff. But it's not like it's not like people are just knocking on the door. Now, there has been a lot of people that have been reaching out to me, trying to get me connections with different companies. I've been trying to work on a cowboy hat sponsor and get a hold of some of these hat companies too, just because I feel like I can sell their products. Like, I mean, I have people message me every day wanting to know what kind of hat I wear and where they can get one. And so I've been working my tail off trying to get some of those people, but it's just haven't been happening. So, but anyways, it's a grind. I mean, this is work. You got to work at it. It's not easy.
I can get you some contacts with some cowboy hat manufacturers. I know a few out west in Wyoming and stuff from when I lived out there. So we can talk afterwards.
Cool.
And I can get you a couple names and numbers to reach out to. But it's wild to because I would have assumed. Now this is me having a little bit of knowledge, which sometimes is more dangerous than anything. That winning 2 Elite Series events your rookie year, people would be more forthcoming. But also you have to take into account, like you said, the economy. Obviously there's some major companies in the industry that are struggling a little bit right now, and the industry as a whole, almost all companies are struggling to some degree with everything that's going on. But talk to us about your rookie year. So was it surreal, that first blast off, like being in line and seeing those guys?
Well, it all started. So at the beginning of the season, they have one meeting. So like each tournament, we used to do back when I fished in the day, we used to have a tournament like before every meeting. Well, we had one meeting at the beginning of the year and at Okeechobee. And here I am, some rookie kid walking in, cowboy hat on, in the middle of, Gerald Swindle and all these hammers, and I was starstruck. I was a little nervous, but at the same time, I'd fished against some of those guys that were there and some pretty high level, guys that are fishing the BPT now. So like, it wasn't too overwhelming, but definitely, I was nervous going into the first tournament. I mean, it was pretty wild. And the other thing is too, is when I made the Elite Series, like I was officially in, I had a lot of people reaching out to me saying, hey, Joey, I'm following you. We're going to follow you. We're going to be your fan. So the fan base for the Elite Series is, I think it's awesome. I don't know about the BPT, I don't know. I'm sure it's pretty good there too, but like it was crazy. The folks that were reaching out to me, supporting me. And so, I had a lot of confidence though. I was ready to go. Like I kind of had like, like, hey, I'm about to come in here and I'm gonna take some of your boys' money. I mean, that's the attitude I had. I really did. I wasn't trying to be too confident, but you have to be confident and believe in yourself to be successful. So I did have part of that in me, and I knew I could compete. I just, at the same time, I didn't really know. So that first tournament, I made a top 20, and it was like, hey, this is good. Like, this is the way you want to start a year. You always, a lot of times, and for me in my previous history, I kind of always like started slow and like didn't do well at the first of the year, and then I did really good at the end of the year, kind of when we got up around the smallmouth and stuff like that. So it was great. The first tournament was awesome. Loved
That's
it.
what I was just looking at my phone. I thought you were top 20, and I wanted to confirm that. I looked before, but it slipped my mind. So that had to be a huge confidence boost right off the bat.
Yeah, huge confidence booster. I mean, yeah.
I did want to ask one question because I think we're probably going to transition next into Seminole, which is we know what went down there. But that Okeechobee event, and I'm drawing back in my memory now. It was kind of weird because Tyler won that in the river. How did that go down? Because I don't think we asked Maddie this when he was on, but like, how'd that go down amongst kind of you all as anglers? Like, that was kind of a very unique place to go do that. Right, because we know Okeechobee. Like, Okeechobee's just been the same almost for 20 years. You go down almost the southwest side, and that's where 90% of the field is, right? South of Indian Prairie Canal and all that. So, like, one, how did the field take that? And do you think that kind of changed how maybe some people fish throughout the year with the new technology?
I mean, for me, like, I thought it was cool. I mean, yeah, something that's never been done. I as far as me fishing, I didn't think anything about it. Like, wow, I mean, everybody was ranting and raving over it. That he did that in the canal, and that was different than anybody's ever done. But we do have the forward-facing sonar now, and which I say that it's been out for a while. Another guy could have done the same thing and won one of those tournaments. He just was doing what he likes to do. Tyler did. So, but yeah, I think maybe, so I don't know if we get into this or not, but I think there's probably some guys there, some older guys that don't use it, that maybe it threw them for a loop and they didn't do good the rest of the season just because like this. And then I went on Seminole with forward-facing sonar and everybody else was fishing shallow. Like, yeah. I think it mentally, I think it affected a lot of guys. And, just because they didn't trust in what they knew to do shallow, and they decided that, hey, maybe I should be trying to do this thing out here with the forward-facing sonar thing, and they just didn't end up doing well throughout the year. And I think that's why, as far as some of the guys on the Elite Series, I think that's why there's some complaining going on.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
But anyway, it's my opinion.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. We don't want to get into the whole live scope forward-facing sonar debate because
we all know our stance.
It's almost been here for 10 years if you go back to the original Panoptics. Like, it's not that new. And number two is that you guys are able to catch fish and awesome fish in places that no one knew they were out there. So like, why would you not want guys to go catch fish? Regardless, right? So that's an awesome story. Then obviously Seminole was forward-facing sonar was a big play there. And so how did that event go down with Seminole, your second one? We know that, and if I remember correctly, you were fishing, 20, 25 foot, kind of in a big bowl out there in Seminole? And
yeah, go ahead.
And I was going to say, what? I remember other anglers saying, yeah, we kind of looked around the edges of that, and there were some fish there, but we went shallow. But like, you were out deep in the middle of what they were standing timber and stuff out there.
Yeah. So if you haven't been on Lake Seminole, the creek that I fished is Spring Creek, and it's so notorious for tournaments getting one out of it. I mean, there's been droves and droves of tournaments getting one out of this place. And I made a top 10 out of really close to where I caught those fish on a Toyota Series event, I think the year before. made a top 10 on Seminole. I decided to fish it. Always loved that lake. And I only fished it one other time besides that, and I bombed it. I finished like 100th or something, or in the 90s. But when I was researching, I was like actually excited about this tournament because I was thinking maybe there would be some more pre-spawning fish out there, and I could do that. Because I feel like I like to fish deep, not just with forward-facing sonar, but just I feel like that's just what I like to do. I'm not a big shallow guy. I'll do it to get bites or go up there if that's where it's happening at. But it lined up perfect for me. I did some research. There was one like a kind of a Japanese angler guy maybe that won a tournament a long time ago out in the middle of Spring Creek. It was much more colder wintertime pattern. But it's just so much timber out there. It's chocked full of timber. I mean, if you get a foot, 6 inches outside the boat lane, you're going to hit a tree. Mm-hmm. And they're big, massive trees. And there's a creek channel that flows through there that is very good. What I was fishing is there was an area that was a predominant spawning area for a lot of those mm-hmm. bass where they go spawn up in some of the islands at the mouth of the creek. And the creek channel swang in really close there to that spot. And then there was a kind of a flat. It wasn't a bowl. It was just a flat that was stayed 22 to 25 foot. And it went all the way across. And then it came up to about 15 foot. It started getting to hydrilla. And the hydrilla was pretty much up to the surface, not to the very top. But anyways, those fish were just out there suspended in the timber where they would in the winter normally mm-hmm. anyway. But I think they were just funneling in there to go spawn because it was time to spawn, but we had a little bit of a cold front right for that tournament and it just made sense to me. I went out there and practiced. One day in practice, I literally didn't catch very many fish, but the 5 bites I had was like 25, 26 pounds. And I said, well, this is what I'm doing.
Yep. Yeah.
So, that's just what they were doing there. It ended up that there was more. I honestly didn't think it was going to hold up for 4 days. I thought it was warming up. The fish were probably really going to move in shallow. But then one day I had 20 pounds of post-spawn fish, or 21 pounds of post-spawn fish. Every single one of them was skinny and post-spawn. So I was like, well, there's more fish that had already done this. So I had I had one of those little highway spots where they were coming and going at the right time. And it was a blast.
Yeah, it was a ton of fun to watch. And I, much like you, watching Tyler do what he did and just watching people win different ways. I really loved the Okeechobee one, not to take anything away from you, but the announcers were so the whole time, well, there's no way somebody's going to win offshore. It can't be done. People have tried it. It's never going to happen. And then for it to not be up shallow there, and then for you to back it up, it was like, we talked about it right after you won. We were like, Joey just won a second event using new technology. Like, this is great. It's here to stay. We know it's here to stay, at least for next year. But
because I remember some of the coverage. Some of the other anglers were talking about, they had checked out kind of that area, but they were looking shallower, maybe 12 to 15 foot. I don't remember exactly, but like no one really went out like as deep as you were fishing, and it just kind of like flew. Everyone like, what is going on?
When you were in there, like when did it click that you could win that tournament on that spot? Was it during practice, or was it once you started catching those post spawners?
So, I had a great practice. I think the first day of practice I went out there and I had, giants, and I never went back to it. I just left. I went and fished all over that whole lake in different places. Went up the river, both the Flint and the Chattahoochee, and did a bunch of different stuff, shallow, and just wasn't feeling it. Luckily I didn't get on anything else. I stuck with that thing. So I thought, okay, this could be good. But you don't really know, how many times do you practice for a tournament and you catch them and you're like, man, this is good. And then you do have a terrible tournament. You know what I mean? Like that happens. It seems like when you don't catch them in practice, you have more better tournaments when you don't, because you're like trying to constantly find these fish. So I didn't know. I would say, after day 2 or 3, that somewhere right in there, those 2 days, probably the last day of the tournament, like I thought I had a chance because I had such a big lead. I had a 4-pound lead. Mm-hmm. I thought I got a good chance to win this thing. What you got? I mean, the year before that, guys, I had a 7-pound lead on the St. Lawrence River and I blew it. I spun out mentally, left my area. So I had those things running through my head. I lost a Bass Open that previous year I qualified to Brandon Lester. I caught like 28 pounds on the, Lake Toho, and I had a giant lead, and then I caught like 10 pounds the next 2 days and ended up losing. So I had those things running through my head mentally, like, hey, is this going to be another one of them deals? Like, and it ended up working out. So I don't know specifically, but because I didn't even, if you guys watched at the end of that day, like I didn't think I won. I thought I had a terrible day. I mean, I had like 19 pounds or what. I don't even know what I had. I can't remember, but I just, cause I had lost a couple big ones and I lost a giant one right there at the end of the day.
Yep.
And something else to say is like, I was fishing against Greg. I was in the bag line with Greg Hackney, Mike Iconelli, and numerous other dudes that I watched on TV and like loved. And I just, it was nuts, man. It was like my second tournament and I'm fishing against these hammers. So I thought Greg was going to win the thing or whatever, you know. It was unbelievable. Never forget it.
Yeah, you're good. You can come in. Trey made it. Did your daughter win? Heck yeah, dude. That's awesome. Trey made it, so we'll let him get settled, and we just got wrapping up Seminole, so
yeah, I just
you're muted. There you go.
What's up, man? Sorry I'm late.
No problem. Good to have you on.
Yeah, just had to wrap up that Rookie of the Year championship for my daughter, so pretty exciting.
Awesome.
So
good deal.
So you win that one, and that's your first win at a pro level, correct?
Yes. Yep.
I can't even imagine like the emotions that would run through, you know. But it's awesome that you had that confidence coming in because you were riding confidence, and we talk about it all the time. People ask us about like, I want to get into tournament fishing. What are some things to expect? We're like, you got to ride the momentum. Like momentum's a very real thing in fishing, and you're fishing against yourself. Like every tournament I fish, I don't worry about what other people are doing. It's like you have to beat yourself, and I think that's a testament when you talk about losing a 7-pound lead the year before. Like you built that scar tissue, and I know you said that stuff was in your mind, but consciously you made the decision to go back to what had been working, where the year before you left your area because you didn't think it was going to work. So you learned those lessons through error, but you have to have that. And we say you're rookie on the elites, but you're not a rookie in the game, and you have a lot more of those learning experiences than probably a lot of other guys that make it. And I think that'll be some of the struggle we see with guys coming up that don't have that experience, that are qualifying super young, is they haven't built that mental database of, hey, I made this mental error before, I'm not going to do it again because it cost me. So it's definitely interesting. And then you kind of had a rough one. I think the next one was Santee, right?
No, it was. I think we went to Murray after that.
That's right.
And that's where I bombed.
Yeah, Murray was rough. Yeah.
Murray was rough.
Murray and Santee
and then Santee. Yeah.
were back to back this last year.
Yep. Murray. And Santee.
Murray was a place, and honestly, thinking about the schedule, like prior to the year, Murray was the only place on the schedule that I was not real confident in, just because I haven't done well there. I've never done well there. It's a herring thing. Every time I go, I don't know anything. I haven't learned that or been on that lake enough to really study it and do well. I'm not a big pre-practice guy where I go out and fish lakes, prior to tournaments and do all that stuff.
Yeah.
I've tried that before. It just doesn't seem to work with me. So I just didn't have a lot of confidence in that place, and I think it showed, obviously. So it is what it is. But Santee wasn't absolutely a bomb. That was my first time there. It was very tough. I mean, I was there fishing around guys that were catching good fish in bags, and I just didn't care. I caught small fish every day. I knew what to do, but it was just a tough place. It's a pretty vast too. I mean, that place is massive.
Oh yeah.
I definitely need to go there and spend some more time on that place.
That was a very weird Santee tournament in general, just the way everything went down. It is a massive lake. I didn't realize how big it was till I started looking at maps, because I'm going to try to go down this spring.
I mean,
fishing.
When you go over the I-95 bridge down there, it takes you like 5 minutes.
Well, that's
to cross
true.
that.
Yeah, that is true. So you had those two, and then you get to the north, which you said you were feeling pretty confident, getting ready to go back into the north swing, chasing smallmouth. You like to fish deep, which obviously is a smallmouth game.
Where'd you get your smallmouth confidence from? Is that because baseball, Florida baseball, and getting into fishing in Arkansas? I know, like the White River system's got some smallmouth, but I think we've all talked about it here how the smallmouth and like the White River system, the Tennessee River system, they don't operate necessarily the same as like the Great Lakes smallmouth. So like, where'd you gain your confidence in the smallmouth and walk us through like, what was it, St. Clair, right?
St. Clair.
Yeah, St. Clair.
You went up there, yep.
Yeah. So I've been asked this question so many times, and I don't really have a great answer. I'm going to tell you a few things though. Here in Arkansas, we have smallmouth and stuff. And like when we had tournaments, me and my buddy were fishing local tournaments. We just loved going to catch smallmouth. They fight better. They're fun. They bite. I mean, really good. I just love them. I just don't know why. I just love the fish. They're just a mean, bad to the bone fish that I just love them. So anyways, but through that time before I went on the professional side, I would make some trips to Minnesota and do some smallmouth fishing in the summer. And so I got to catch a little bit bigger fish, and I loved that, fell in love with it. I was pumped every year to go up north and catch those smallmouth. And I learned a few things there, but I really owe a lot of my smallmouth credit to Larry Nixon because he's done well. He's won 3 tournaments on St. Clair. He's seen that lake when it's been terrible and when it's been awesome. And I've learned a lot of different techniques from him that otherwise, I probably would have been figuring out myself. So I got a learning curve from him. I owe a lot of my smallmouth credit to him because he's taught me a lot of things. And so I feel like that's why I've done well there so quickly, is just because I've had that little learning curve on that. But for the other part of that is when you go up north, these places are, especially St. Clair, these places are so vast. Okay. And St. Clair's a bowl that's 20 foot deep in the middle, and they can be anywhere. And I mean, you can troll for an hour and not be in them and not catch a bass. So, I love hunting. All right. So like when you go up there, you're hunting these fish down. Like you might look for little minor contours on, just like the deer would travel in the woods or different places, like little, like it's kind of, I relate it to deer hunting some, but like you have to hunt them down. You got to find them. You got to fish from daylight till dark up there. And you just got to cover tons of ground. I love doing that, and I don't know. I've just been successful on that lake. But otherwise than that, I can't give you an answer, guys. I do. The other thing is, I like finesse fishing. It's kind of weird, but I really do like finishing. I grew up in Florida with a spinning rod in my hand, so like when I go north, I don't use anything with spinning rods, and I feel confident also. I think that's something else why I do well there. It's not that I don't like bait casters. I use them all the time, but I would rather have a spinning rod in my hand. So I don't know. I like finesse fishing.
I think a lot of times anglers are asked a pinpointed question, like, why do you think it is this way? And you're like, man, I've never really thought about it before. Nowhere am I capturing the data to prove this is a, reality versus a theory or whatever. But it was really cool to see you up on St. Clair, and I haven't been there since I was a child. But you're right though, like targeting fish off map data and stuff like that. It's the way you target, that's the way you target bad guys too, let's be honest. So, targeting those smallmouth it's a hard thing to do. Does it make it fish small though sometimes?
Yeah. I mean, it can. This year was really weird though. I'd never seen it like that, just the way the fish were, and they seemed to be really scattered out, and the water was pretty warm. It was almost like more like a fallish kind of tournament up there, just from what the experiences I've had. So, but yeah, it could make it tighter. I mean, you'd be fishing around most of the time you go there, you're grouped up with other people fishing around other folks. But for me, in most tournaments that I fish, I always try and find something else away from people. I don't like fishing in crowds. It's just something I don't like to do. I always try and go find something else, and sometimes it burns me, but that's what I like to do.
Yeah, you do. You see St. Clair get like that, and it was a weird one. I mean, I spent a lot of time on St. Clair growing up. That was we would go up there for a week every year, and it was weird to see the Canadian side not really play a whole lot into it, and it was just a weird tournament overall. So win number 2, I mean, was it just as satisfying as the first one?
Yeah, I mean, it was. I just couldn't believe it, guys. I mean, it gets me a little emotional thinking about it now. It's just unreal. I mean, I knew in practice, like, I knew I had something decent like out there, and I didn't have anybody. I was hoping there was going to be nobody around me, but through the tournament, I was by myself.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's not good on St. Clair. Like, you don't know, you don't always want to be by yourself there, because then, but I knew that all those fish were there at the takeoff. Everybody was fishing in Anchor Bay.
Yep.
And when it comes to the week, and this is something I learned there, when it comes to the weekend, like, the boat traffic on that place is horrendous. Giant boats. There's no way you could effectively use your forward facing sonar. I knew that's what I needed to get the job done out there. And so that's why I really picked that area and went for it. It wasn't getting a lot of bites either. They just were the right quality. But I was just in the right place, and it was crazy, man. I getting that first win was a huge weight off my shoulders in this season, starting out on the Elite Series, but getting 2 was crazy. I just never. I thought about it though. I was like, after I got that tournament win on Seminole early in the season, I'm thinking, man, I've still got a chance to maybe win another one. I mean, I had my family and my dad. He was like, Joe, you're going to win the tournament this year. Like, when you get up there north, I know you're going to do it, and I did, and it's awesome. I mean, that's just like, that was the moment where I was just like, hey, I'm good enough to be good. Like, I can do this. Now, I'm not going to have years like that every year. Probably not, but I'm gonna try.
Yeah. What point in that was it? After the first win, or obviously it was probably a goal from the beginning, but did you really realize, like, Rookie of the Year was obtainable, and did that become a goal at some point?
Yeah. Well, just to touch on goal things real quick. And I say this in all the podcasts and everything I do, and people I talk to, and just motivational speaking to people in general, to be successful and to achieve things, you have to write down your goals. So in my shop, I wrote down my goals: win Rookie of the Year, win a tournament, make a top 10, make the Bassmaster Classic, check, checked all that stuff off. But when I won that tournament, I was my brain, I was zoned in on this Rookie of the Year thing. I'm like, okay, because I'm leading now, and it was close. I was in whatever place I was in, but I was like, hey, I can actually do this. And I'm about to go to Champlain. I love it. And I'm about to go to St. Lawrence River, and I love it. I knew I had a chance to get this thing done. I felt like I could do very well at both those places. And so, yeah, it was on my mind for sure. There was a lot of pressure too.
Sure. Yeah.
Did it go from, I want to win another tournament? Like, did you change your mentality going into it, knowing that you had a shot at Rookie of the Year? Did it change the way you fish a tournament, or did you keep it exactly the same for the last couple events?
No, I kept it the same. I actually went to Champlain trying to win the tournament. 100%. That was my goal. I wasn't going to go there try and make a safe play. I don't think that's a good move anytime. I think you go and you try and do what your normal mindset is to win. And that's what I did at Champlain. I would say at St. Lawrence River was a little bit different because the wind was bad. And our practice got only cut down to 2 days, and I did not get to go everywhere I wanted to go, especially where those guys ended up winning the tournament. I never got to go up into Canada on the lakeside and do that. So, but no, I was planning on winning, man. I mean, going into Champlain, I kept the same mindset, and shoot, guys, that was the tightest, roughest, stressfulest thing to end the season I've ever experienced. I mean, it was wild.
I like to hear that, because you hear far too many folks, guys, gals, whoever's doing it, that when they start getting in those points races, that they start points fishing. And yeah, Trey, I do the same thing. Like, if I have a goal, that becomes a focus, and you get away from just doing what you do and you know how to do and trying to win. And to be able to keep that killer mentality, if you will, like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go get my prize. I think is the difference. And when you look historically, when people start to points fish, it's kind of like the prevent defense in football. Like all prevent defense does prevent you from winning most of the time. And it's kind of, I feel like it's the same in fishing. You go out there and you start fishing safe, and it ends up costing you. And you could tell that you didn't do that. And that was a weird one on the St. Lawrence, I think, for everybody, just because of the way the weather's set up and all that.
Yeah, it was a little different. The St. Lawrence is changed so much since I first fished it, 4 or 5 years ago or 3 years ago. And so but I had the confidence in the river fish, and I actually felt like I did pretty well for fishing in the river, because most of the time you catch a 20-pound bag out of the river, it's pretty good, like 20, 22 pounds. And I had a really good tournament there. I stuck with it. I tried to go out to the lake one time, and I just kind of fished what I had confidence in, and was hoping 5 by today. I was fishing on some really big fish in the river. There's big ones in there to win 100% without a doubt, but they're so hard to catch because they just get more pressure. I mean, they're getting caught all the time, every summer, and they're getting old and they're wise. And but I felt like with some tactics I have learned over the years, I could maybe snatch, if I can get me 5 big bites a day, I can make a top 20, maybe a top 10, and made a top 20 anyway. So that was pretty good.
Yeah. So you said St. Lawrence has changed over the last 5 years. Do you attribute that to more pressure because of what we've seen with like the elites and BPT and these other tournaments going up there? Are there more guys making that a destination than used to, or why do you think that is?
And do you think it's gotten better or worse, right? Because we've seen all the massive bags that have come out of there the last 2 years.
Yeah, I don't think it's hurting the fish. I guess maybe some guys would argue the numbers are down there, but I don't know, guys. I use a camera at that place, and there are droves and droves of fish there. Mm-hmm. You don't realize how many bass are there. And a lot of them, you think you can see them on your forward-facing sonar, but they're tight to the bottom, and you can't see them unless you have a camera. So I don't think it's hurt the fish. I honestly just think it's 100% pressure. We have these tournaments, and both organizations are going there every year, and people are like, man, I want to go, and I don't blame them. If I wasn't where I was or whatever, I would be making my trip up there to go catch smallmouth too. And you got to think, everybody in the country and the Canadians and probably people from outside the country trying to come in and go fish St. Lawrence River too. So like, it's just getting a lot of pressure. And they're tough to bite. It's 100%. Back in the day, you pull up to a rock, it had 5 or 10 fish on it, and you could catch almost every one. And now you catch one, you're lucky if you can get 2. You have to come back in an hour and hope that you can pluck another one. It's just the way it is. So
yeah, I hear that a lot in different shows and stuff. It's not that the population of fish isn't there. It's just they're far more educated, and fishing, competitive fishing, well, recreational fishing too. It's just getting harder. Like these fish are wise, they're fat, they probably got a bunch of soft plastics in their belly, like they're getting pinged all the time. Like it's a culmination of the above. But you guys are still like impressively pulling out giant bags of smallies from the northern fisheries.
Yeah, I feel like
20. I was going to say 20, Bryant Smith, 29 something pounds, the largest in Bassmaster history, weighed in on the scale.
That's right.
They're there. There's if you want to go catch a 7-pound smallmouth, that's the place to go.
And what was it last year? Right, there was the first century bag that was all smallmouth at St. Lawrence. Mm-hmm. What was it this year? 3?
I don't know.
3 or 4?
Yeah, Joey would know.
There was 3.
I'm pretty sure. I think it's 3, but it could have been 4. I'm not 100%
3 or
on
4.
that. It's either 3 or 4. Either way,
it was
that's
3
pretty impressive.
because we talked how the top 5 could have potentially all had them if it weren't for boat issues and things like that cost them from getting to their areas. So it's crazy to think, 300 pound of smallmouth come across the scale, 300 plus pounds from the top 3 guys.
Yeah.
You would never think that. And people will blame, certain things, but like we said, we're not going to get into that. But
show me some proof.
That's what I say too, man. That's what I say too. I can show you the proof that it's not doing it. Just come on my boat. I can show you exactly how it doesn't catch fish.
I think this is something I want to say real quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're going to see the reason why I feel like I've done well this year. You see the guy that almost won Rookie of the Year, Kiyoya Fujita. He's a finesse guy. Mm-hmm. Our lakes are, yes, we're catching more fish. That's what 100% without a doubt. We're catching more fish in the lake. More of the fish that didn't used to get caught are now getting caught. Finesse guys are going to start dominating. That's just my feel on it. I think the guys that are finesse fishermen are going to catch more fish. It's like Japan. Those guys over there are so well at it because they have to, because their lakes are so high pressured. And I think just with time, you're going to keep seeing that. And it's just the way it's going. Yeah. My opinion.
I think we called that earlier in the year. We talked about two things. One, bait's getting a lot bigger and bait's getting a lot smaller.
Well, we did talk about it because my call was about 5 years from now, because everyone's either going to go super big baits or super small finesse. In about 4 years, it's just going to be your standard 4-inch baits that's going to be winning everything because the fish haven't seen it for 4 years.
So,
that's what's going to happen.
When Mama asks, why do you have so much stuff in the tackle box? You're like, well, because the way that bass go, it's an ebb and flow. So every 5 years, it's going to be something different. So you're just preparing for the future. So, but I tend to agree with you because I feel like I've caught a lot more fish this year, bigger fish. On drop shots, on Ned rigs, on things that I just don't traditionally throw, versus a few years ago where it was like, yeah, I can throw a big jig out there. I can throw a big Carolina rig, whatever the case may be. But they seem to not be as active at eating that bait. And I don't know how to attribute it to anything. I'm just going with what the fish tell me to bite, or that the fish are telling me they want, man.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I think you're going to see too, like you guys were saying, I mean, there's going to be a swing in the finesse, and then the power fishing and the big worms and Carolina rigs. I mean, that stuff still works, and maybe the fish won't see that as much, and we'll be going back to doing some of that stuff. I don't know. I mean, I still do that, but I like the finesse approach myself. So
I don't want to throw Pete's lines of questions off, but no,
you're good.
So you move on the last event, right? Which was, are we on the last event?
About it, St. Lawrence.
St. Lawrence was the last event. Mm-hmm. Man, what did that feel like, dude? Like just from an emotional, like emotionally and all that stuff, even physically, like what did that feel like when you were on the stage and you had all your supporters there? And I know the North gets really big crowds too, just like Orange, Texas does. My favorite place is Sabine River. But like, what did that feel like for you, man, to look at all those boxes? You checked all those boxes and talk us through that emotion.
I mean, obviously just felt like huge weight off the shoulders. First off, I mean, when you're trying to accomplish these things and get them done, and you're in the moment and you're weight, you finally do. It's crazy. I mean, I had 3 big ones this year. Like, it was just awesome. But, I mean, that's the thing that I love about it this year is just the fans and the people that's reached out to me. And that's kind of, more influence on kids and positive influence and them looking up to you and try and help people catch more fish. Like, to me, like, I know you're talking about specifically like winning Rookie of the Year. Like it was great. It was awesome. I mean, being there with my family and the whole thing, but I kind of look at this as more of a big picture. It's kind of the way I think about it. Like I can change, maybe people's lives or help them catch more fish and be a good role model for kids. I mean, that's kind of my goal in this whole thing is it to do. And so it's great. It's like that feeling like, hey, I've actually made this thing. Like I can legitimately say now going into next year that I can do this. I feel justified. I could do this for a living, like 100%. Before I didn't know, just because it was so expensive. So it's all great, man. I mean, the family, everybody, the local town, like they put my picture up on a billboard. I
saw that on your social media.
Town. Yeah. Yeah, it's been the talk. I live in a little town. There's about 3,000 people here, and but no, it's all good. It's all good. I mean, I don't know. But at the same time, like I'm one of those guys that I don't want to relish in this too much. I want to get my mind right and keep going. Got next year, got the Bassmaster Classic. Focus on these. I want to win another tournament next year, or a couple, or I'll have those goals written back down and win the Bassmaster Classic. So I've got a long ways to go. I know I've done well and all that, but I always set the bar pretty high for myself. I don't ever want to be complacent, if you know what I mean.
No, I'm glad you said that, man. And I'll turn it over to Ben and Pete here in a second, but I'm glad you said what you said about like making a difference and influencing, right? A lot of people ride the coattails of what you did, but it's who you are that actually is the legacy that you're leaving behind. And I think that's important for we always, and we'll say it at the end here, but we do have our motto as a group. And if we can help other people, that's what we're designed to do. So that's the legacy you're going to leave behind. And if you are setting goals and you're setting the bar high for yourself, then you're challenging yourself. And so I think that goes back to like, are you chasing points or are you chasing victory? Which one do you want? Of course, everybody wants a victory, but if you're setting that bar low, then that might be the only performance that you have. Right. So, but anyways,
and I know we've got to wrap it up here shortly because you're on a tight time schedule here, and in the off season you get a lot of commitments. I actually had two questions I wanted to end with. The first one was, what were your goals for next year? But you already kind of mentioned that already, right? Which is awesome, right? So we can follow along, and we'll be rooting on you for at the Bassmaster Classic. But the second one I had is, what do you think of the new schedule for next year? Because it is unique in the sense that it's different places or different times of the year for some of the lakes that we haven't seen for 4 or 5 years minimum on the Bassmaster. So how do you think that's going to play into, I would imagine it's probably going to play into your strengths, but like what's your initial feel for it?
I loved it. I absolutely love the schedule. I think it's going to be great. Yeah, it's going to be a hair bit different. Typically we start in Florida, but we're starting in Texas this year. Lake Fork is probably this is where I caught my biggest fish. I fished there a decent amount when I was growing up here in Arkansas. So really excited about that place. But Toledo, the whole schedule is great. We're finishing up in up north. To me, it's going to line up perfect for me on a lot of different places. And I have been to Wheeler only one time though, I think. And I was fishing as a co-angler. So there's a couple places that are going to be challenging for me to pick up on a few things maybe, but I look forward to it, man. It's going to be great. But listen, goal number 1 is to win the Bassmaster Classic. Goal number 2 is to win another Elite Series event. Well, Angler of the Year is my next one of my other goals too. So all of these are goals, but win Classic, Angler of the Year. Like if I could do that, I always got those. I had those on my goal this year is to, win Angler of the Year. But anyways, man, I'm looking forward to next year. It's going to be a blast. It's going to be fun.
My goals suck, dude. Mine is to like make sure my tire doesn't blow out on the way to the lake. So that's awesome, dude. Your family, your fans, and definitely yourself should be proud of those accomplishments. And it's possible, dude. Like I heard Polnick say it a long time ago. He's like, I want to win every tournament. Like that's my goal. I want to win every single tournament. Like absolutely, go in with that hungry mindset.
Yeah,
you have to. I mean, you really do. You have to think like that. Honestly, previous years in my career, I was that guy I was kind of stressed. Like, man, I got to make a check in this thing. Money wise money was tight, but like I got to make a check. I got to make a check in this thing to survive. And a lot of those guys, those new guys that are coming in, they're going to have that same experience. They may not have all the sponsorship money and things, and they're, maybe barely getting by, going like literally fishing from check to check on each of the tournaments. And I was that way, and I didn't really do that well. And this year, I had that killer mindset, and I wanted to win them all, and had a pretty good year. So I'm gonna keep that going.
Heck yeah. No, we really appreciate you coming on, Joey. We have a mutual friend in Nick Kincaid, so you got any embarrassing stories for him that we can put out there in the world? Something goofy he did when you drew him as a co-angler,
Not that I can remember. He probably did pretty well. I don't know. Hopefully, he didn't cast over my line or anything. But
I don't think.
but
he
no,
would.
no. I think he did great. Man, I fished with a lot of guys. I don't remember a whole lot. I get so focused on trying to do my thing. I don't even remember. But no, he's probably good in the boat. Most of the guys I fish with are most of the co-anglers I fished in the opens and stuff. Like I fished some opens this year. They did great. Most guys are really respectful and I appreciate that.
That's good.
I guess if he had something really funny, then Nick would have really made an impact on the boat anyways. So
that's right. I think you probably remember those ones that that you don't ever want to see again more than you do the ones that don't. But no, man, we
I've got some stories.
I can imagine. We've heard some from other folks and from both sides, co-anglers and boaters, of some rather interesting experiences out there on the water is a nice way to put it. But we really appreciate you coming on, man. I know you've got a pretty tight schedule, like Ben said. I just want to give you a minute to shout out all of your sponsors, because you can't do without them. Make sure everybody hears who supports you so they can go support them, and also your socials, which I will also link down below in the description for anybody that's watching or listening.
Yeah, so I pretty much got all my stuff lined up for next year, and I'm going to be back in a Phoenix boat. Love those things. I've been running them for about 3 years. Going to be running a Mercury again. Pretty excited about that. I've got a big title sponsor that's in the industry that I've been with for a couple years. It's Miller Tech lithium batteries. They're made in Ohio. Amish folks, they make a great product.
That's right.
Those guys are really cool. They're behind me 100%. Absolutely love them guys. But several people. The cool thing is the local folks that support me here in Arkansas. That's really what it's all about. I mean, I have people that I don't mention. They don't want to be mentioned, that give me money. Recently, just because they support everything I do and they want to be a part of it. Which is really cool.
That's super cool.
And it's nothing, it's not big checks or anything like that. It's just a little bit here. I want to help out with some gas money and stuff like that. So, but Horizon Trike and Marine in Clarksville, Arkansas, they support a lot of the local fishing here in Arkansas, and they're great for getting your boat, buying a new Phoenix boat or several other brands, and fish and tackle and maintenance and all that stuff. And then I had an insurance company get on board this past year, Globe Life Insurance. They actually insure the Dallas Cowboys, and the Globe Life field is where the Texas Rangers play. Okay. So they're a big company. I've been trying to get a title sponsorship out of them, but if anybody knows Globe Life boys, just tell them to give me a call. But no, I actually know some of the high end up folks there, but I just haven't been able to get nothing done. But man, Bassmaster, the fans, this has been an unbelievable season. The people that's reached out to me, just talking fishing. I love it. I love every second of it. I hope I can get in the boat with as many folks from now on and show them how to catch some more bass. Doing a lot of stuff with kids, taking them fishing, and hopefully do some classes maybe and that kind of thing. And I really appreciate you guys having me on all the stuff I've done this year. It's not only, it's helped me a bunch. It's getting my name out there, and this is what you hope for, when you're successful. And so I owe a lot of credit to you guys for sharing and doing this with me, and it means a lot to me, so I appreciate it.
We want to get you back on at some point to talk that finesse stuff, man, because I think a lot of people down here struggle with it, and it's for selfish reasons too. So it'll be mutually beneficial.
Well, let's do it. From now till February, maybe, or this winter or something like that. If you guys want to get me back on, just shoot me a text. I would love to do it.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah. We'll definitely get something on the books to get you back on. What are your socials as far as where people can follow you?
Yeah. So I understand my last name is a little bit tough to pronounce and say, but, Joey Cifuentes Fishing. Everywhere you go, at Joey Cifuentes Fishing, Facebook. I think maybe Joey C Fishing on Twitter. I don't do much on Twitter, but next year I'm going to have a guy filming, doing the whole thing in the boat, kind of. Awesome. So I'll be able to get some more stuff on YouTube. I'm going to do like a YouTube channel and get some more content out there for folks that want to learn more about the finesse stuff and the forward facing sonar things, and just, to help people catch more fish. So that's all Joey Cifuentes Fishing. Got a website, same thing. You can follow me. I don't only do bass fishing. I live on a farm, and I play around with cows and do some crazy stuff like that every once in a while, and it gets a little interesting. And hopefully capture some of that stuff on video. I just made a really sweet video with Grundens, another one of my sponsors. They came down. We spent 3 days. We roped some calves, banded some calves. We did some work on some of my steers, just some ranch stuff. We did some fishing too. Kind of got a little more in depth on me and, kind of what it is like living on the farm where I live on the ranch I live on with all my family. It's going to be a really cool video. I don't know when it's going to come out. It's probably sometime next year, but Grundens is going to have a sweet video. So you guys are going to want to watch that. But yeah, Joey Cifuentes Fishing everywhere you go.
Last question I have with the cows. Are you calm when you handle them? Because every farmer I've known, and every time I've watched people handle cows, they could be the nicest person, but there's F-bombs dropping every 5 seconds when you try to get a cow to do something that they don't want to do.
Well, it's funny you asked that, because I had this film crew here, and I loaded up a bunch of my calves to take to the sale barn to sell. And we were trying to get them in, and they were trying to film and get in these little shots. And I felt kind of bad, because I was yelling at them. I was like, guys, you got to get out of the way. You can't move. I was getting a little, probably not the way I should, but it's intense. Like a lot of times, I mean, my cows are pretty docile. Like, they're good, but even then you piss one off, like they can run you over in a heartbeat. So, it's not a time to play around. So yeah, I kind of got onto those guys a little bit. If you guys are watching, I'm sorry, or listening.
That's just part of
it's. I enjoy it, man. Like, we went out and roped a steer and a heifer, just brand new calves. We're calving right now on the farm, and so we put a band on a steer and put a little ear tag on one of the heifers, and I love it. I enjoy it. I've run across, jumped out side by side, run out there roping them calves. It's fun for me. I don't get too crazy about it. I like to have fun. So
you need to this year for 2024. You need to do a cow pie prank on one of the guys that you're working with, fishing with. And stuff. Like, I promise. Like, it'll be great.
They did. I saw some videos they were doing with the box, and the Elite Series guys were going in and touching, like, they didn't know what it was.
Yeah. I saw that.
So I'm just going to put a big old fresh pile of manure
That would be wonderful.
Good cow patty, and they're going to be like, oh, what's that? So
smell your finger.
I'll talk to Ronnie Moore, see if they'll let me do that. Yeah, 100%.
Right.
That'd be hilarious.
Oh, that's funny. Well, awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for jumping on. I'm sorry I was late again. Champion right here,
No
volleyball
problem.
dad champion. And it was great. It was great to meet you. And we look forward to having you on here in the near future.
And if you can just hang out for 1 second after we end the recording, Joey, and then we'll let you get on about your night. But we appreciate everybody listening, watching. Make sure you check out all Joey's stuff linked below. Check out those sponsors he's mentioned, and help us continue to grow a culture of anglers helping anglers one cast at a time.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, God, it's a toad, son. It's a toad, dude.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day.